I wasn't supposed to make it out. I grew up in Miami, a little girl carrying pain that nobody really knew. Molestation, betrayal, hurt. It shaped me in ways I didn't understand at the time. But it planted one seed in me. I promised myself I would never be broke and I would never let my children suffer like I did. Yeah, this was me as a child, smiling on the outside, but hiding so much on the inside. My innocence was taken too early, and that trauma, it followed me everywhere. Nobody knew the nights I cried myself to sleep or the way I questioned if I even was worthy of love. But that little girl, she became a woman who was determined to survive no matter what. By the time I became a young mother, survival wasn't a choice, it was my reality. Imagine being homeless with 4 small kids, nowhere to go, nothing in your pockets, and 4 little small bright faces looking up at you for answers. I did what I had to do. Keep them fed, to keep them safe. As a mother, you will sacrifice anything, and I sacrificed everything. But those survival decisions, baby, they came with consequences. And the very thing that I thought would save us almost end up destroying us. This was only the beginning, because the path I chose to never be broke again would eventually cost me my freedom. And you know what? As I look back, it's almost hard to believe how much I carried at such a young age. You know, it's a lot to know what you've been through, to see what you've overcome. And I wasn't just trying to figure out life for myself. I was responsible for these little 4 people that were dependent on me for everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. To eat, to breathe, to just understand life. I became a mom at a really young age. And as much as I loved my babies, I didn't have a blueprint. I did not have a blueprint. There were nights I cried, wondering how I was going to feed them. The next day, times came and I didn't even understand where we were going to sleep. You know, we had nowhere to go, sleeping wherever we could. And I still had to put a smile on my face so they wouldn't see the fear, the turmoil, the hurt, the confusion. It took a lot. But I tell you what, being homeless with 4 kids, that's a type of pain I wouldn't wish on nobody. People judge you from the outside, but they don't see the decisions you had to make just to keep your kids alive. And as a mother, you would do anything, and I mean anything, to make it possible, to make a way, to be able to say they smiling. I just chose not to test mattresses. Then when I made myself a promise that I would never be broke again, not just broke in my pockets, I meant not broke in my spirit, broke in my hope, broke in my opportunities. I told myself I am going to make it by any means. And when I say I told myself that, y'all, I told myself that, and I said I was going to make it by any means necessary. I meant that when I said any means necessary. But here's the thing that nobody tells you, that nobody be honest with you. Survival mode can really trick you. It makes you believe the wrong choices are the only choices. And that promises I made, baby, that promise I made, baby, when they said now that you standing on business, that promise I made, that fire that kept me going is the same fire that led me into the lifestyle, that led me into the life that almost destroyed me, that led me to the life that almost lost me forever. When I tell y'all, it'll make you believe that now. You see, this my actual paperwork. At the time, I thought I was untouchable. But in reality, every choice I made was leading me right here. The system already had eyes on me before I even realized how deep I was in it. And you know what? I can remember one night, right? me and my son dad got into it and we were fighting. I already had my own spot. And he's about like 10 years older than me. At the time, I was 17 or 18. So we got into it, and I didn't really have any means or knew really how to get it. This was before I got deep or even brushed the surface of the fraud game. Hello, somebody. And it was a time we got into it because I was really getting fed up. Remember, if you don't remember, because the story is coming, I had 4 children by the age of 20. You might think and say, yeah, but that's what it was. So we got into it, and I really didn't have any money or whatever to get my kids something to eat that night or whatever. And that's when it really all started. Times like that will be them times that'll push your mama to that mean that say, you know what, I got to make it happen. I got to do what I need to do, and I have to push forward because what I refuse to do is sit up here and lose. What I refuse to do is continue to look at you asking, hoping, definitely not begging for you to make a way for me and mine. We not going to do that. That's not what we doing. And I thank God when I look back at it now, because I was like, wait a minute, no food or no future. At that time, I wasn't seeing about no future. Because when you doing the wrong thing, and if you be really real with yourself, when you doing something you know you ain't got no business doing, baby, especially when you got away with it for so long, you don't be thinking about the wrong part. You don't be thinking about the what ifs. At that moment in time, I wasn't. But that was the time that I was like, my kids got to eat. And I'm not about to sit up here and depend on you. And you sitting up here toting stuff back and forth, boats of like you Baru, slinging it bigger than longer than Nino Brown, but acting like you want to feed me pinches of brown rice. No, partner, it wasn't happening like that, Captain. So that was one of those times, you guys, that I really had to, I ain't going to say man up, that I had the mama up. Because, again, those 4 small faces was looking and depending on me. When they say I got family to feed, they depending on me. That's where my story takes a turn. A wild turn that led me right into prison. But I tell you one thing. I wasn't arrested. I was rescued. Because prison didn't break me. It built me. And that's what I'm going to share with you next. When these papers hit my hand, that changed everything. It wasn't about struggling anymore. It was about facing the reality of prison. And let me tell you, walking into those gates for the first time, it's a feeling you never forget.